Good morning guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel where the international break is finally over. Club football is back and that means one thing, we get to watch Manchester United lose 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. It didn't exactly go to plan, did it? Despite losing the game 1-0, Manchester United were actually probably the more dominant team. Certainly in terms of possession, that was the case. We can see it in the numbers. Of course, in terms of setup, United were once again in this 3-4-3 formation. And like I said, the impetus really was on United having the ball and trying to break Nottingham Forest down. The reason for that was because if we take the ball and put it over here with the goalkeeper, Nottingham Forest didn't want it there. Sells in goal for Forest had no interest in playing the ball out from the back. In situations like this, he literally just wanted to send the ball long. And you can see that really nicely in his pass map, a player that just wanted to boot it long at every possible opportunity. So that meant therefore that Manchester United had the ball a lot in these areas. Now the other reason why United were dominant and controlling so much of the ball was because not only did Forest send the ball long from back to front up here, but also because when United had the ball in these positions, Forest weren't too keen on pressing. Now again, just to clarify, United are the red counters here, Forest are these sort of bluey-white counters. But in moments like this, when the ball is in these deeper phases, Forest didn't really want to engage high in the press. So quite quickly, we can see that United have more players in this area here. If we put forward these four Forest players like this, you can see that Manchester United in this phase have more players. It's 5 for United against just the 4 for Forest. So that means United are going to be able to move the ball around these players, show some technical quality, to at times actually move the ball forward quite quickly through the pitch, particularly early on. There were moments where United moved the ball really quickly. We would move the ball up initially, encouraging the Forest players to come towards us. Then we would move the ball backwards into midfield, and then we're trying to play quickly forward. And I felt early on in the game, there were some really crisp moments where technically United actually looked pretty good. Some really good moments from Casemiro, Ugarte, Xerxes, Bruno Fernandes, all involved in these moments early on in the match. And it allowed us to move the ball forward quite quickly. Although what happened to the technical quality after that was a bit of a mystery. Now, speaking of mysteries, that actually ties in really nicely with today's video sponsor, mysteryfootball.co.uk, who have kindly sponsored today's video and sent me this lovely, lovely mystery box to open for you guys today on camera. If you want to get your own one, just head to the link in the description down below, head to mysteryfootball.co.uk and get your own football shirt. Now, you might be thinking, what if I get a shirt of a team I hate, like a Manchester City or a Liverpool? That would be awful. Well, you can actually just tell them that you don't want those teams, which is a really cool feature. So if we take a look, we put the box on the table here, we have an opening. This is my genuine live reaction. Let's see what we get. We get a Borussia Dortmund shirt, which I believe is from this season, according to the card. And if we just hold this up real quick, that is absolutely beautiful. What a beautiful kit. Let me quickly just try this on. So I've now got the kit on and I've got to say the quality is absolutely lovely and the fit is really nice as well. You might be thinking, AJ, you plonker, you still got the label on, but I want to prove that this is all official. These are official shirts that you are getting from mysteryfootball.co.uk. Like I said right at the start, if you want to get one for yourself, head to the link in the description down below to get your mystery box. So back to the match, and we've already established the fact that United were the dominant team on the ball, and the question really was, can you move the ball forward through Forest? Early on, there were moments where we could move the ball quickly, but as it went on, Nottingham Forest would drop deeper and deeper, trying to block all these gaps. So when United have got the ball here, it's really difficult to, let's say, find a player in this position here, because there's just so many Forest defenders in this area. It's really difficult to actually move through this part of the pitch. You could almost accuse Nottingham Forest of parking the bus a little bit, but you could also argue that United were doing a good job of pinning Forest back, particularly down this right-hand side, where we've got Garnacho in this position here, and we've got Diogo Dalot playing as the right wing-back. I felt that these two actually done a really nice job of pushing forward down this side of the pitch, because as they both go, let's say Dalot pushes forward, but also Garnacho, it forces the Nottingham Forest winger on this side to drop in deeper with them. And you can see Forest now almost have this sort of situational back five going on across the back line. What this means though, is that we've now got a massive space here for Lenny Yoro to carry the ball into. And actually, in terms of the numbers in this game, he was one of the most progressive players on the pitch in terms of his passes and his carries. And also in his heat map, you can see him venturing forward down this right-hand side. So this was a way in which United were able to move the ball forward. And from here, I think genuinely there was some pretty good combination play from United. We saw situations where Forest are of course going to try and get over and apply some pressure. What United did quite well was freed up space in the middle of the pitch. So someone like Ugarte in this position here, rather than staying here, he's going to make a sort of decoy run off the ball, past the ball, to open up room for someone else. So Ugarte might move into this position here. He's going to take this midfielder with him. But the reason he's doing that is because we're trying to open up this space for Casemiro, then back deep in the midfield. It could of course also happen on the other side of the pitch over here. So you might see the wide player with the ball over here. Casemiro is going to make the run forwards, take this player with him, and then we open up the room for Ugarte to receive in the middle. And in theory, that's a good idea, because once we've got the ball now to this central point, we can try and play forward. We can try and progress actually through the middle of the pitch, which is of course where it's at the most dangerous, because the goal's in the middle of the pitch. So it makes sense to try and progress in these areas. The problem is, in terms of the profile of the United players, Casemiro and Ugarte as your double pivot to break down a low block, not great. We can see that again in terms of progressive numbers, these two really struggled. And if we look at Ugarte's pass map in particular, there is very little progressive play going on through the lines, through the middle of the pitch. So we're talking about getting the ball here and moving it in these areas into really dangerous positions. Now, of course, Ugarte only played 45 minutes, so we shouldn't be too critical. But in terms of in the first half, trying to break a team down, it was difficult for United because of the nature of these midfielders. Now, of course, in the second half that changed. We saw Casemiro staying in midfield in this position, but we saw Bruno Fernandes now playing a little bit deeper. Rasmus Højlund came on up top, Xerxes played to the right-hand side, and Garnacho to the left-hand side. Now, this realistically is a more attacking idea, a more attacking setup, because in terms of the profiles, United now physically have more forwards on the pitch. We've got Højlund, Xerxes, and Garnacho, who are all forwards. The problem is, though, just largely, Forest were still very compact. Eventually, they sort of ditched the situational back five and just went for a full-on back five with 3 centre-backs in the middle, 2 wing-backs either side. And that makes it really difficult for United to move the ball through the middle of the pitch and progress in these areas, which means we've got to go wide. And I don't mean to be critical of United, but when it goes wide, it's not very good. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to move the ball into these positions. And again, we've got Lenny Yoro, for example, stepping forward down the right-hand side. We're trying to combine in these areas, often creating these sort of 3v3 situations here. So you can see we've got our centre-back, we've got our wing-back, and we've got our inside forward, all in this area creating this 3v3. We could also see a midfielder join over here as well, creating the 4 versus 4 in a situation. We can see a couple of examples of this. It could be 2v2 as well. The problem was, in these moments, United lacked quality. And again, I think we have to go to profile of player that is playing on the pitch, because if you look at the 2 players really providing the width to United in this game, it's Patrick Dorgu and Diogo Dalot. Both very good fullbacks, I would say, in my opinion, but they are that, fullbacks. They are not 1v1 specialists in wide areas. Now, I actually think Diogo Dalot, for example, actually had a pretty good game, I can't lie, one of United's better players. But in terms of trying to break down a low block, you're trying to play through this really stubborn defence. Again, you've got to look at this. Look how many Forest players are going to be behind the ball. And even the centre forward is coming all the way back, making it so difficult to play through these areas. You can't go through the middle of the pitch, which means you need to be able to go outside the pitch. And yes, someone like Dalot can beat his man, he can get into this position, but then is there enough box occupation from United in the middle? Are there enough players in here? The answer in truth was no, not really. But also Forest are very good in these positions. They've got a lot of good aerial defenders, good box defenders. We saw the blocks, the clearances on the line. It's a problem for United. It's really difficult. And the times that we did get into better positions was when someone like Garnacho would join the wide play, whether that be here on the right-hand side or over here on the left. But the problem is when we get into these positions with Garnacho, he just lacked the final decision in a situation like this. You've got to play that extra ball, and he didn't. And ultimately, for all the possession that United had in this game, there was that lack of attacking threat. And sort of as the game went on, we got desperate. And when you are putting your extra centre-backs further forward to join the attack like this, you are now leaving this big old space for the opposition to transition into. And when you've got the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White, you've got Awoniyi, you've got Alanga attacking into that space, it's going to be a problem. And that was sort of the story for United in this game. A lot of the ball, a lot of possession, sort of dominating the game in theory, but it kind of felt Like Nottingham Forest wanted us to do that, knowing that United were never going to truly possess the quality to break them down, and Forest would always have the room to counter-attack into. And like I said, with these guys going forward against the likes of Casemiro in midfield, eventually we saw Eriksen, Forest are going to feel that they can dominate those situations, and they did. So, who was the better team? Who deserved to win? That's quite a difficult question to answer. United, of course, had the higher expected goals in this match and had more possession, so you would suggest that United should have won. But for me, it always felt like Forest had United at arm's length, and, you know, we'll use this for a second. They sort of parked the bus in the middle there, Forest, and United didn't really have a way of getting this ball and going through it. The bus was in the way. United never really looked like scoring until Harry Maguire came on up front, which was sort of the problem. Yeah, United dominant, but still really lacking the squad, lacking the profiles, lacking the forwards to cause problems against these sorts of blocks. So it's the same thing that we've seen time and time again this season. So there's not really much more to say apart from thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.